Brian, what are you doing?
Just trying to hack into Sword's database. They've got a really tough firewall.
Yeah, well, maybe you'd have a little more success if you uninstalled LimeWire and quit trying to download Skater Boy by Avril Lavigne.
Look, I'm at 53% on that. We're past the point of no return, all right?
Well, if we're waiting anyways, can you throw Holla Back Girl by Gwen Stefani on there?
Don't worry. That one's at 69% already.
Nice. Welcome into the Bro 4 Squad podcast, where we are just a bunch of bros drinking beer and watching TV and movies. This is our review of WandaVision, Episode 6. I am your host, the Mayor Jeff Hornacek, joined by the mad scientist Brian Banner and the American hero Nate Thurman to review this as we do all of our television episodes on the 4 Bro 4 Squad criteria, which is the acting, the story, our favorite scene, and then a fan favorite, and my favorite, theories and questions going forward. Let's dive right into it. We're 6 episodes through WandaVision, and Nate, the acting and performances, I think, continue to give us something new every week, really just based on kind of the narrative device of the show. But also here we had a couple newcomer, or I guess a big newcomer that was given a pretty heavy load to carry. What'd you think?
Yeah, I think the newcomer, speaking of Pietro, making his debut of more than 10 seconds from last episode. Really great dynamic with Elizabeth Olsen, and they're back and forth, and I think he played it well. And for what they're wanting him to play, it was really a great performance because. And I'm kind of confused, honestly, where he is at in his mindset and like how he's there and all that. But he did give us enough, and he played it off well enough to still have that mystery around it. So I really liked his dynamic in the whole episode, and kind of gave us that. Are you really who you are? Why are you here? But he just gave us enough to kind of tickle our balls a little bit. But yeah, really great between them two, and that was kind of the standout performance, especially since it was a new character we got introduced to.
Evan Peters is, I think, a really underrated comedic actor. And we'll get into it in theories and questions. Like you kind of said, I'm not sure exactly what or who he is, and I'm very nervous. And Banner at the end, I'll make an allusion to my least favorite thing Marvel's ever done, and I hope they're not doing this with him. But in a snapshot or in a vacuum, I was able to really enjoy his performance here. He's just awesome. I wish Evan Peters was in more stuff.
Yeah.
And Brian, before I turn it over to you, one guy I just want to mention again, because he's grown on me week to week. Josh Stamberg as Director Hayward. It's hard to play like the guy who's really just a dick all the time, because you could come across as very one-dimensional, like cardboard. And I'm not saying his character has a lot of layers yet, but I enjoy him when he's on screen, just being an asshole to everyone else.
Yeah, I think he's definitely growing into that role and really developing and showing us who that character is, where he's doing a really good job, and in his mind, even though he's being a dick and he's making all these decisions that us as the viewer and obviously other characters in the show are incorrect, in his mind he truly believes he is making the best decision at every step of the way. And I think that's really hard to do, like you said, with such a one-dimensional character. Going back to what Nate said, Evan Peters as Pietro, I agree with you guys. I don't know who he is. I don't know what he is, but I loved it. I'll talk a little bit more about it in best scene, but he stole the fucking show, in my opinion. Every time he was on screen, the way he was acting, because he's playing a completely different Quicksilver from what he played in the X-Men franchise. It's similar, but it really isn't quite there. But it's also not the Quicksilver that we saw in Age of Ultron. So we're getting a new layer or a new Quicksilver, which is pretty refreshing and really fun. And his dynamic with the kids was just incredible. The fact that he really played that, hey, I'm that cool uncle and don't worry, I got this, overconfidence, even though he really has no idea what the fuck he's doing, was just phenomenal job. Tip of the cap.
Yeah, and the back and forth and the switching between his roles that he was playing. Yeah, the cool, fun uncle playing with the kids and everything, and then seamlessly and almost in the same voice going to things like, "Where'd you hide all these kids?" But like he's not like super confused about it like some of the other characters in Westview, like freaking out. He's just like, "Huh, all right," and he's just like nonchalantly talking about this and switching back and forth. And that was one of the cool things that you haven't really seen yet with a character, because anyone who realizes what's going on in that world is usually freaking out about it
for a good reason. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it's weird because Quicksilver's like lack of alarm at the fact that Wanda's essentially, whether intentionally or not, taken a town hostage. He's like, it's pretty cool, like the Halloween festival.
How'd you do this?
Yeah.
Like, how'd you put up the banners and kidnap all the children and everything? Catering.
You're brainwashing all these people. That's cool.
So, like I said, and it kind of echoes what you guys used to describe Peter's performance. In a vacuum, like not knowing the big picture, it was just really enjoyable to have him back. Like, we don't know where it's going yet, but whatever he did, it worked for me in one episode.
One hundo.
All right, story and plot. IMDb describes the plot synopsis here as disturbances on Halloween separate Wanda from Vision, who looks into anomalous activity in Westview. And I wrote down kind of the two really, as far as progressing the narrative, big things that happen were Vision trying to escape the bubble. And as a result of that, Wanda grows it in capturing several members of SWORD and their team, and obviously extending its reach, not only on Westview, but kind of the real world. So, Brian, I think this one actually furthered the plot quite a bit, although kind of as is the theme of this show, we don't really know what the fuck is happening in the moment. What did you think about the story?
I mean, we already knew, but they 100% confirmed that she is controlling everybody in there, right? And we know that...
I don't know about that, but she has...
I wouldn't say
okay. Okay, let me rephrase that. Somebody is controlling everybody inside the town.
Yes, I wouldn't say 100% it's her all the time, is what I would say.
And she clearly controls the actual bubble.
Correct.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think that was a big deal. I think Vision is 100% not under her control anymore, right? I think he is now thinking independently of himself. He's playing along with this just because he's trying to figure out what's going on, the same as us. I don't know. I guess I'm not really talking about story. I'm more on theories here. So
they're very interconnected.
It can go one and the same.
Trying to figure out what they said in the story is also, I'm having to make some inferences, which connects to theories, I guess. I don't know. The fact that we saw the kids, just completely switching gears here. Love that we saw the kids using their powers.
Yeah.
Absolutely love that. I think that was a question I had coming out of last week. Also, love the costume design in this episode, top to bottom. Everybody using the facade of Halloween to get those old school costumes in there. This is kind of where... This is just like we never saw Wolverine in the yellow costume. Mm-hmm. This is their version of getting these characters in that yellow costume. And I thought it was great.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because Vision's costume, which, like from the comics, the one he wore in this, would look utterly fucking ridiculous in a real movie. So you have to play it like a joke.
Yeah, with just the Mind Stone just like flapping a piece of cloth right above his forehead.
Like your mom made it, like a bunch of staples and like sewed it together in an hour. Like it'll work.
Yeah.
Nate, what'd you think of the story?
I thought it was another really great episode. Gave us a lot of answers. And I had kind of a note here. Yeah, Director Hayward, his new prerogative being unveiled is really interesting. He's only tracking Vision, as they've found out, as Darcy Lewis hacks in. So that seems to be the main focus, where previously we may have thought that he was really just going after Wanda. Now, I think that is his goal, to stop her, but Vision is looking like it's an asset for SWORD or for him. Now, what that may look like in the future, I don't know, but that kind of peeled back a layer of the onion, per se, on the Hayward front. So that was kind of cool, getting the insight there. One of the other cool things that was in this episode that is progressing another character with Rambo. Um, Darcy talks about her going in and out, changing her cells at a molecular level, getting her one step closer to becoming Photon. So that's another cool aspect that I think they're trying to play into here. So we'll see where that goes because she's obviously going to try and go back in again. So we'll see if any superpowers kind of are unveiled there.
And not to jump ahead to theories and questions, but I think it would be great if in the next episode, when Darcy is in the bubble, if she was like a waitress at a restaurant and she wore her Two Broke Girls outfit from the set.
I don't think that's out of the realm of possibility.
I don't think so.
Because they made the reference to Kick-Ass. I don't know if you guys caught that.
Mm-mm.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because both Evan Peters and Aaron Taylor-Johnson were in Kick-Ass.
Exactly.
Bingo.
And I didn't know if it was intentional or not intentional, but I like to think it was intentional.
What was the Kick-Ass reference?
Whenever they were running around stealing candy. Yeah. And Wanda
whenever
just said,
they were running around, he
"Kick-ass."
said something about like, this is going to be Kick-Ass. And she goes, Kick-Ass?
Yeah.
And like questions it like, wait, I know that from something else.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Two other things. These are just kind of off topic, but pertaining kind of to the plot and what was happening. But the commercial in this one, I was trying to dig into this one. I really don't know what is going on because all the commercials previously, Lagos and all that, they have a connection. I'm really struggling to find this one. The only thing I can think of is that kid's on the island. He's deteriorating. That kind of lines up with Vision deteriorating later when he tries to go outside the bubble. But
what
Banner
was the name of the pudding again, or whatever?
Go Magic.
It was like Yogo.
I couldn't figure that one out either.
Something magic was in the name.
The only thing I can think of, and there was some stuff online, and I got busy and didn't go down that rabbit hole and read it. But I'm thinking maybe a Ghost Rider reference there with the way that he deteriorates and ends up just as the skeleton head.
Could be.
I may be reaching. It's a reach, but
well, I mean that's what this one requires is a reach because there's got to be something there. I know. It's just I couldn't really piece anything together.
Because they've been going kind of in chronological order for her MCU arc. So at this point, we would be like the Sokovia Accords and maybe like the fight at the German airport in Civil War, unless you want to jump straight to them being in Scotland.
Yeah.
And then the last little fun thing I had, and I'll throw it over to Horns for his thoughts on the plot and story. The movie theater, whenever Pietro and her are talking in the background, it's always fun to look in the background and see like what's written on things. The two movies that were playing were The Parent Trap, which is a movie about twins, so it kind of relates to her and her brother, and then the Billy and Tommy, and then the other one was The Incredibles, movie about a superhero family. So that was a nice little nod there on the marquee.
Both of which are Disney properties. Just want to throw that out there.
Oh, of course,
not a mistake. Yeah, the only thing I think I'll add is this episode I think did an incredible job of going back and forth between the meta and the actual narrative in a way that is very, very hard to pull off. Even if you exclude like going from the 90s or early aughts sitcom and the Malcolm in the Middle vibe they gave to the MCU narrative, Pietro's way to sort of break the fourth wall, you know, and for all intents and purposes, and talk about what's happening and then go back into character. I could see like even Kevin Feige reading the script of this episode saying, how the hell is this going to work? But it just did. And I think this is one thing that I have been most excited about with this show. The MCU, after how successful the first three phases were and the Infinity Saga, they could have just sat back and played it safe with this show. And this is a swing for the fences. Like, it might not resonate with everybody, but you cannot argue that they're trying to do, and they are, doing something very, very different. Every time I talk to my mom or my fiance or someone else who watches this show, they go, it's weird and I don't get it. It's not like other Marvel properties, but I like that about it. And that's really what I picked up on from this one. Like, they are committed to this. It's not something they wanted to do for 2 episodes. They're going to ride this out.
Yeah, and I think we were kind of obviously not on the fence about whether we like the show or not, but on the fence about what direction they were going. And earlier in some of our episodes, we were like, oh, I think they'll probably go away from this, blah, 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 at this point in the season. It's going to be a part of it, I think, this whole season. Maybe the last episode they might stray away if they get all the way out into the real world, but Banner has some thoughts I can see in his face.
I think they have to stick with it now. This was that pivotal episode of, are they going to give a sitcom, or is it going to be all, real live action drama that's happening out in the real world? And I think they settled on the perfect proportion of each, and how they seamlessly flow in between the either ones. Those lines very early on were extremely defined of what was sitcom world and what wasn't. And those lines are getting very, very blurred now. And they're weaving between these worlds so seamlessly, you almost don't even realize you're watching part of a sitcom at times.
And now that we know what the sitcom is, like, it makes it even creepier, because the entire time, like, there's something sinister actually happening. Like, people are being mind controlled and it's painful to them. And it's all just this facade that Wanda's created because it's more idyllic. It's sure we would love to live in this universe that isn't the actual real world, and that's what makes it even creepier now that we know what it actually is.
Yeah, I think Pietro actually has a line about that when they're on the street. Whenever she's actually trying to test him and say, "Hey, do you remember that kid? Blah 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 with the skin?" He's like, "You're testing me."
Yeah.
He said something like, "I wouldn't want to leave either if I found utopia," or whatever that he says. But it plays to your point that you're making.
Yeah, I don't know if his character's just like scared of Wanda snapping and fucking killing him, or if he's
Could be.
Like, that's kind of cool, but he's just like, I'll tell you whatever you want to hear. Just don't snap me. I saw what you did to Thanos. All right, on to best scene. I don't have much to say here. I had just written down, I really love, just because I think their three characters interacting are so great, but I loved when it was Darcy, Jimmy Woo, and Monica trying to, like we did in the cold open, kind of trying to hack through the sword firewall. And when they kick the shit out of the sword agents, and Darcy goes, "You didn't even tell me the plan. Like, we pretended to get captured." I'd written that down, and then of course Nate's alluded to it a few times, but that whole like Halloween festival scene I thought was great, because the things kind of slowed down for a second. We got to just hear Pietro and Wanda have some really earnest dialogue that I think we've all kind of been looking forward to. But then it sort of ends in, I can't remember if it was Billy or Tom. I get the twins confused, but the one who can track people, who tracks Vision, then it ends with like the big culmination of the whole episode with her growing the bubble. How about you, Nate?
Yeah, that was a huge one, and that was the top of my list for me as well, and mainly because of the Pietro Wanda conversation. You get to unpackage a lot. You get to kind of maybe concrete some theories you had previous to that, because she kind of has a temporary amnesia, kind of like Vision. She doesn't remember like before this bubble happened. She doesn't know how it got there. But yeah, just really candid and open. And he even says, "I'm not your husband. I'm not a stranger. I'm your brother. You can talk to me." But then obviously interrupted with the kids coming in. But yeah, that whole thing was great, and seeing how they're bringing in another character to kind of throw another wrench in the cog here to unbuckle this this world that she's created.
Yeah.
And then honorable mention would be the scene between Agnes and Vision. It was a short scene. There wasn't much there, but I think there is a bunch under the surface. But we can unpack some of that in theories, because I've got some things around that. But with that being said, I'll throw it over to Banner.
Yeah, that'll probably be the majority of theories and questions, I would imagine.
Yeah, I agree. I think that was my honorable mention, was Vision and Agnes talking while she's in the car. I felt like that was, first off, Catherine Hahn. Jesus Christ, is she not crushing this fucking role?
I know, and it's weird because, like, what can't she do? Like, I saw her in This Much I Know Is True with Mark Ruffalo last year. I think she should get an Emmy nom for that. She's been ridiculous in Step Brothers, and now she's pulling off this incredibly creepy character as well. And we don't even know where it's going yet, and I'm already scared shitless.
Yeah, I meant to throw her in for an honorable mention in acting, just because the short scene and what was needing to be portrayed in a different way, in my opinion, was nailed. So it was great.
Yeah, I think that she did a really good job of portraying, and this scene in general was an extension of when Vision looked in, was it Norm's brain, or like unspelled him last episode?
Yeah.
He essentially did the same thing here, but I believe Agnes is somewhat more aware than Norm or the average citizen of Westview that's under this control. If she is under this control 100% of the time, she did a good job of giving Vision just enough to push him to what she wanted him to do, which I think is to leave the bubble.
Now, this kind of ties into theories and questions, Brian, but you got me thinking about that scene. Where, based on proximity, where Vision finds her, are we to assume that she was essentially trying to get out of the bubble?
I don't know. I think it depends on who she is and if she is working with our main antagonist or not, which we don't know that at this point. I think it'll become clear in the next, couple episodes more of what she was doing there. Maybe she can't necessarily leave, and Vision is the only one that can break through that. I mean, we obviously could tell that he phased through it, but it was still sucking him back in. Maybe she did what she had to do to make sure that he got the word out, but then also make sure that he tried to leave so that Wanda would make the bubble bigger. I don't know.
Yeah.
One last thing I've got, though, on best scene, I too had the Halloween Town Square scene between Pietro and Wanda. And I think one of the biggest things that got answered for me there was, or one of the more interesting aspects of that conversation was, we know Wanda and Age of Ultron Pietro have a very close connection, really good chemistry. They're on the same wavelength. And by her testing Evan Peters' Quicksilver, it was almost like she was trying to see, like, do I have the same rapport with him, even though he looks different than I did before? And she's trying to build that and see whose side is he on. And by him essentially telling her what she wants to hear and saying, yeah, look, this is great. I just want to know how you did it. I would do it if I could do it. This is awesome. She's getting that validation that she needs that he's giving her. Or he's giving her the validation that she needs.
Yeah.
Almost convincing her that what she's doing, whether it is right or wrong, he's telling her it's right. And again, I don't know if that's more sinister or if he's just trying to be a good big brother.
Or like I said, maybe he's just scared for his life.
Yeah.
Right. Very possible.
All right, ready for theories and questions? Because we've all been like holding back, I can tell.
Yeah.
I didn't do a very good job of holding back.
Yeah, Banner's like, well, acting, let's turn that into theories. All right, I have a couple, but we can go round robin. I think my first one is, it's kind of just been glossed aside, but it's been referenced the past 3 episodes. And now she is meeting up with him. Who is Monica's astrophysicist contact? I've been racking my brain. Outside of Jane Foster, I don't know of maybe Selvig? Like, who else are the astrophysicists in the MCU?
The only thing why I'm shying away for that, because that's the only other thing I can think of. The other thing is,
but we have Darcy, right?
Yeah, well, that's the thing is the other person that I would see possibly being, it was Darcy's like intern from Dark World, that like weird creepy guy that she makes out with. But in either situation, any of the known astrophysicists in the MCU, how do we know that, or how would Darcy not know that they're going there? Is Darcy just all of a sudden not have communication with all these people?
Yeah, and if they brought in the guy from Thor: The Dark World, like, no one really gives a shit about him. So to kind of tease him for 3 episodes and then bring him in, I'd be like, okay. And like Hansel and Zoolander. And Nate, do you have any guesses?
Hold on. Sorry. I don't know if you saw my chat on there, but I didn't hear the question. So
it was just who is Monica Rambeau meeting up with that she's been texting the past few episodes.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, we might have to cut that out, but I can bring it up from there.
Yeah, just go. We'll keep it.
Yeah, I don't really know. I still don't have many theories on that. I've been trying to rack my brain and figure out, and I'm not as connected into the MCU world as some people. So trying to like dig through like the Rolodex of all the people is kind of tough. But I was hoping we were going to get to see it last episode, and then it kind of got cut off there.
Could we get a Moria McTaggart here?
But she's a reporter, right?
We need an aerospace engineer.
Yeah. These aren't like action figures. You're like, well, you're the aerospace engineer now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know. I want there to be X-Men in this so bad. I'm just putting him in at anywhere that I can.
Yeah. It's a valiant effort.
All right, Nate, what do you got? Theories of questions.
So yeah, kind of with the whole Agnes Vision scene, and I think, which is a theory we've had previously on here, and I'm going to continue it. I think Agnes still is Agatha Harkness. I mean, it just makes too much sense. She's dressed up as a witch for Halloween. I think
That laugh.
yeah, that laugh play. I mean, they're just getting too obvious with it, and it's not a bad thing because I know that's where it's going. I'm almost 100%.
If she's not, I will be absolutely floored.
Yeah, I'm like, what is all these red herrings for no reason? And they were like very obvious. So I think she was kind of playing into it at that point. She wants Vision to realize who he is, and her sitting at that stop sign. If I remember correctly, he was kind of looking around. He saw the lights of that car. I think it was a ploy from her drawing him out there to the boundaries of the bubble.
I thought she was fucking.
She flashed her brake lights, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I think it was definitely a ploy to get him out there, so she can help him come to like full realization whether I know what her plan ultimately is, but I don't. But it was a ploy by her, and she was kind of just acting out to get him. Oh, you're an Avenger, trying to trigger his memory.
Oh, I've figured out the plan when I get to my next theory. But...
Love it. The one of the other things I had. And I really am just trying to piece this together in my mind. We've been talking about it for an episode and a half or 2 episodes now. But Billy and Tommy, real or fake? I'm still on the fence. I don't know. Like if they try and get outside the bubble, like what happens to them? Not saying that's going to happen, but just trying to theorize because Vision tries to go out. Like what are they actually real? Like if they go outside the bubble, will they still be alive? I still don't have an answer, but I'd love to get your guys' thoughts on that.
It's like when you try to steal clothes from Old Navy and they have the little sensor on it. If they walk out, will the beeper go off? And they're like, no, you guys actually aren't real. I'm kind of with Banner, even though I can't make sense of it right now. I think they are real. I think Wanda somehow created them.
Me too. They're having the interactions with the camera in the Malcolm in the Middle-esque opening, but I think that kind of leaned me towards them being real.
I think they're real. I think she got pregnant in Scotland or was already pregnant at that point, and I think she had the babies. I think that they are real people. Now, whether they are under mind control or they actually believe they're living in this utopian world, and maybe that's what it is. Maybe this whole thing is Wanda wants her kids to grow up in this perfect vision of life, and that's why she has created all. That's her motivation for creating all of this, not realizing that their powers are going to start to manifest and they're going to start to figure out these irregularities like Agnes or, like Agnes saying, oh, do we need to redo this or something wrong? Same with Herb. Herb's made several comments like that as well. So I don't know. I think they're real. I really do.
Yeah.
I also think, can we just move on here? I think Quicksilver's not Quicksilver. I think he is Mephisto. He's got to be, right?
Okay, let me say this. So, to the people saying that this is not the Foxverse version of Pietro, my question is, how would Wanda have conceived this physical appearance for him? Like, she's never seen him before. Like, doesn't recognize him facially. And then my other thing is, if Marvel thinks that you can, like Nate mentioned when Darcy says they recast Pietro, if you think you can bring in the guy who played him 3 times in the Foxverse and quote-unquote recast him as not him, that's the Mandarin middle finger all over again to us.
Yeah, and I think
that would be more of a middle finger than the Mandarin.
And I think one other thing that kind of plays to your point that we hadn't mentioned yet, but was in our best scene, she sees a zombie Pietro whenever she looks at him, and it is Evan Peters. So it's not like she cast an image of her actual brother from the MCU world that she knows on him. It was legit him with the bullet holes in him and all that. So I think that kind of plays in as well.
But she also made she said, "Where'd your accent go?" And he said, "Where's yours?" you can see she's kind of like, okay, fair enough.
Also, another thing I picked up on, Pietro mentions their parents, and Wanda's very confused. Probably because Pietro, even though he doesn't really get to know Magneto in the Foxverse movies, he knows his mom, and Magneto is his dad, and Wanda is like, "What do you? My parents have never been in these movies, basically." So I still think they're kind of teasing like a Magneto coming over, and Evan Peters maybe, well, that Pietro, we just keep calling him Evan Peters.
Yeah.
Maybe
It's
merging.
so
the
much
two.
easier though.
Yeah. But if she just somehow conceived his face from the Fox movies and put it on the reanimated corpse of Aaron Taylor Johnson's Quicksilver, that went from cool fan service to fuck you real quick to Marvel fans, I feel like.
I don't think that's the case. We all know Marvel doesn't do something without a reason. Whether they pull on that string later on or not, they don't put things in place at any point in any of their movies where they can't go back and go, okay, we're gonna jump off of this now and move from here.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'm not angry yet, but I'm starting to prepare myself to get angry.
Mentally preparing yourself to get there.
Yeah, I think it'll be fine.
So Darcy was consumed by the bubble, right?
Yep.
Mhm.
Is she gonna be aware that she's in the bubble, or is she gonna be mind wiped?
I think she'll be
like-
aware.
Monica Rambeau was.
Yeah, that's a good question. The main reason I think Darcy will be aware is because like your memories that seem to already be in your head are preserved, and she figured out what's going on in the bubble before she got sucked into it. So she'll probably be a little bit aware, but like everyone in there, like Nate pointed out with Pietro, you play along if you want to live, basically. Like,
Yeah.
you play Wanda's game if you don't want to get hurt or be like injured.
Especially after seeing her point 15 guns at some dude's head.
Yeah. You know she's not one to be fucked with at this point.
You got anything else, Banner?
No, I think that's all I've got. I'm just really enjoying this ride, and I can't wait to ride it out to the end so I can say I had no idea what the fuck was going on the entire fucking season, but I really liked it. I hope that's what I end up with.
I have my big theory, and I'm kind of abandoning a previous one. So
Let's hear it.
Sword, Banner. What are do you know what the first two letters to Sword stand for?
I don't. Enlighten us.
Sentient weapons, meaning essentially a weapon that is like self-aware.
Okay.
Now, who is a villain in the Marvel Cinematic Universe that fits that description? It would be Ultron, probably, right?
Yeah.
Robot, self-aware. This is sort of taking out a few episodes from the Avengers Assemble cartoon show that came out 3 years ago, but director Hayward of Sword is Ultron. And he made a pact with Agnes to where he said, Ultron created Vision. Vision is dead and destroyed. He made a deal with Agnes where he said, look, let's work together. You can have Wanda. I want Vision. I need you to mind control Wanda to have her reanimate Vision's corpse, bring him into Westview, and then we are going to extract Vision, and you can have Wanda and the rest of the people in Westview. That's why when Vision is attempting to exit the bubble, Hayward is almost looking at him like, yes, come back, please, let this work. And it's not quite working yet. Like you can see Vision is not quite able without the Mind Stone to keep his corporal form as he leaves the bubble. And in the Avengers Assemble episode, I can't remember the guy's name, but he looked like Hayward. Ultron came back much weakened, but with this like human form, basically like he was like wearing a kind of gross, but like a human skin.
Yeah, I knew that's where you're going.
And tried to reanimate Vision using magic. So he made a deal with Agnes. He said, you can have the Scarlet Witch. I just want the Vision. And I can't reanimate him without the Mind Stone. Maybe Wanda can do it. And that's obviously why he's so hesitant to let Monica, Darcy, and Jimmy Woo in on the plan, and why he's only tracking Vision at this point. And I think James Spader as Ultron is going to be our cameo at the end of the season.
Mm.
Yeah.
Do you want me to bring it up, or do you want to bring it up?
What?
I've been saying for years, okay, for years, that Ultron did not die at the end of Age of Ultron. And I swear to God.
But Your theory was that he got transported somewhere.
Details don't matter. The
Well-
main thing we need to focus on here is that I said he is not gone and he is going to reappear later on. He's too big of a villain not to.
I'll give you part of the credit if it's true.
I'm fine with that. I graduated high school with partial credit, so I know you can be successful that way.
I love that theory.
So I'm now to the point where I'm just going to jump off the Mephisto train completely. Like, if one of you guys want to drive that bandwagon, just drop me off at the next corner, because I don't think he's involved at all in this season. I could be totally wrong and could change my mind next episode, but I'm going Ultron and Agnes are working together.
Yeah, and I think that train is gone too, because I know we were on board with Dottie being Manifesto, but where the fuck is Dottie?
Right. What? And now I'm starting to wonder what even was the point of Dottie in the first place.
Because like they even like dropped hints, like in the very first episode, I think Agnes was like, Dottie is who runs everything. I was like, oh, okay. Come on, that's very glaring. She must be important. She's not who she thinks she is. If they do bring her back, cool, but like it's not looking good because she hasn't been in the last 3 episodes.
Yeah, and not even mentioned.
No, which is kind of weird.
Yeah.
Oh well.
Yeah, now if they bring her back, I'll almost be like, this is too late, too little, too late.
Yeah, yeah. They need more plot development if they're gonna have a big reveal with her.
Right. That's all I had. Anything else you guys have left?
Nope, that is it.
Let me double check, but I think like I said, I'm just so far bum puzzled by every single thing that happens in this that I'm just really enjoying the ride. They're doing such a good job of getting us from episode to episode. Like I said last week, of answering just enough questions for me to be like, oh, fuck yeah, awesome. But giving me just enough questions I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know where they're going with this, which is, it's almost like they're true detectiving us better than True Detective did it.
Yeah, they're making me think a million thoughts at once.
Yeah.
And I could be wrong, but in the marketing materials, I think The Mandalorian did the same thing. I don't think we've seen anything so far from the last 3 episodes.
No, I don't believe we have. I think the furthest that we saw was the old school costumes.
Yeah, like the Halloween episode.
Yeah.
All right, 3 more episodes, and as we saw this week on Twitter, they're all going to be an hour, or I guess 12 minutes and then 48 minutes of credits.
That's true.
Based on
Can't wait.
Possible.
All right, for the mad scientist Brian Banner and the American hero Nate Thurmond, I'm the mayor Jeff Hornacek, and we are the Bro Force Squad podcast. Thank you guys for checking us out. Be sure to hang out for the last 3 episodes of WandaVision. We'll be here every step of the way. Follow us on Twitter at Bro Force Squad. Subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube if you type in Bro Force Squad as 3 separate words. And check out everything that we do on our website, broforcesquad.com. Till next time, we have to go dress up as luchadors and do our neighborhood watch duties.
Chile con queso.
Yeah, that was really good.